चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम, Canto 7, Chapter 1. We completed up to text 26 last time. So we'll continue from text 27. So here we go. 7.1.27. यथा वैरानुबन्धेन मर्त्यस्तन्मयताम् इयात् न तथा भक्ति योगेन इति मे निश्चिता मति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Narada Muni continued. So this is Narada Muni speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. By devotional service or bhakti, he says, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thoughts of the Supreme Lord as one can through enmity towards him. This is my opinion. Narad Muni is saying, Yatha, just as Vair Anubandhena. Vair means enmity or envy. Anubandha, relationship or being bound by. Just as one can be bound remembering the Lord Sri Hari in Vair, in enmity. Martyaha, any conditioned soul, when he hates the Lord, tat mayatam iyat, he gets completely absorbed, completely engrossed remembering Sri Hari. Narad Muni is saying, na tatha bhakti yogena. That kind of absorption is not possible through bhakti yoga. Iti me nishchita mati. This is my confirmed, definite, final, nishchit, conclusive mati, opinion. So now it seems like, wait a minute, what did we just read? We just read that through bhakti you cannot be as absorbed as through enmity. And this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada comes to our rescue when we are confused. Sriman Narada Muni, the topmost pure devotee, praises Krishna's enemies like Shishupal because their minds are always absorbed in Krishna. Indeed, he thinks himself deficient in the inspiration of being feelingly absorbed in Krishna. This does not mean, however, that the enemies of Krishna are more elevated than Krishna's pure devotees. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also thinks of himself in such a humble way. Jagaye madaye hoite muise papishtha, purushera kita hoite muise laghishta. I am worse sinner than Jagai and Madhai, says Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And I am even lower than the worms in the stool. A pure devotee always thinks himself more deficient than everyone else. If a devotee approaches Srimati Radharani to offer some service to Krishna, even Srimati Radharani thinks that the devotee is greater than she. Thus, Narad Muni says that according to his opinion, the enemies of Krishna are better situated because they're fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna in terms of killing him, just as a very lusty man always thinks of women and their association. So, when Narad Muni is saying that those who hate Krishna, like in this case, we're talking about Shishupal, they are much more absorbed than those who are devoted in bhakti. Narad Muni is expressing his extreme, unparalleled humility. So this should not be taken as a definite point, conclusive point, as to, okay, then till now I was practicing bhakti. From today, let's give up bhakti and let's start envying Krishna because Narad Muni says that is better. That should not be our conclusion. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is how pure devotees speak. They speak in a self-deprecating way. Pure devotees, Shuddha Bhaktas, they will never speak good about themselves. So there are multiple points that are important to note here. A conditioned soul, which means a Baddha Jiva in this world, any personality who's a Martya, which means anyone who is in Mrityulok, generally, Janasamanya, people in general, they like to criticize others and glorify themselves. But the more bhakti we perform, naturally the person flips away from conditioned state to the liberated state. And the person likes to glorify others, likes to speak about Krishna, likes to remember Krishna, and not speak much about themselves. In this world, generally, anybody does anything good, we feel insecure, we feel competitive, we feel threatened. And if somebody is glorifying somebody, and to add more trouble, if we don't like that person that they are glorifying, then very quickly we change the topic, or we try to shed more light by adding more information which is not needed, by criticizing that person, just so that that person who's glorifying this person whom we don't like can understand this person is not worthy of the glory that is being offered. That's our opinion. On the other hand, if someone we don't like is being criticized by another person, somehow the false ego becomes happier and says, yes, yes, I am not the only one. Look, this is also the experience of this person, so I cannot be wrong. Well, even if I am wrong, two people cannot be wrong. The mind starts juggling information like that. But a pure Vaishnava, at least who wants to be a pure Vaishnava, wants to be liberated from this duality of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dvandva of this world, good and bad, etc. Such personalities who are walking on the path of liberation should never criticize others. Na dekhaye dosh. Even if we are able to see faults in others, we should not bring it on our tongue. It's not possible to not see faults at all. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says there are 5 levels going from being an extreme fault finder to be an extremely pure-hearted Vaishnav. The 5th level is only seeing faults in everyone. Every circumstance, every person, we only criticize, only see the negative, only complain, only blame. And we may have seen such people, very toxic, very negative, and we don't feel like being around them. Even if you give them good food, they will say, what's the use? There is no salt in this sabji. Even if you say something good about someone, they will say, yeah, but that's okay. But at least 5 years ago, he wasn't like this. Very quickly, they will come to something to crib about, something to nag about, right? Something to bicker about. So that's the 5th level. One level higher than that, the 4th level is they see good and bad, but they still prefer to ponder on the negative, on the bad. So you tell them good and bad, they will say, yeah, somehow now he has improved, but somehow 10 years ago he wasn't like that. Or they will talk about some devotee becoming initiated. So this person will say, yeah, good that they're initiated and now they're chanting. I remember first time when he walked into the temple, he had a cigarette in his hand. No need to speak that. There's no need to speak of that information, right? The transformation is more important than the information of the past. So that's the 4th level where there is good and bad. They do appreciate, but they prefer to again go towards the negative. The 3rd level, one level higher, is they see good and bad. They glorify the good and criticize the bad. They do both. For example, they will say, oh, this Mataji is so wonderful, right? She cooks single-handedly for 70 devotees in the program. So amazing. And tomorrow, if there is a fight, they will say that, yeah, she's cooking because she wants name and fame. So they appreciate, they see the good, they will also vocally verbalize it, but they will also spot the bad and also speak about it. So that's both, the 3rd level. Now, the 2nd level, they see good and bad. They see good and bad, and they prefer to navigate and move more towards the good on purpose. And the first class, they don't even see anything negative. That's a very high state. That's Uttamadhikari. But at least if we have to be Madhyamadhikari, we have to see difference between good and bad. and prefer to discuss the good and not the bad. In some cases, we have to discuss some negative details also, but in a constructive way. One should never discuss the negative to criticize the person. Even if there's some negative that has to be discussed, it has to be discussed in a constructive way to help the situation. It's not that the doctor doesn't see any illness at all. It's not that the doctor doesn't see any illness, doesn't see any symptoms in the body, but the doctor, even if he cuts through the body, does it only with the intention to do good to the person. So that intention matters. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given this example in the Bhagavatam, in his Saratha Darshini Tika, that if there is a winter night and somebody is sleeping in a shed with a blanket, and or let's say somebody is living in a little house and it's very cold, it's winter night, and he's sleeping wrapped with a little blanket, and a intruder, a thief, comes into the house, barges, breaks into the house on knife point or gun point and tells the person, give me this blanket. So the person who's being robbed, if he's of the first caliber, he will think, nothing wrong. It's so cold outside and this person is feeling cold. I at least have a blanket. He doesn't have a blanket. All that he's asking for a blanket. He could have killed me for money, but he's such a nice person. He only wants a blanket. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that's an example of the first class. So at least if we're not able to reach there, thumb rule, we should not glorify oneself. That's the point. And here, Narada Muni, who is the exalted teacher of bhakti, it is Narada Muni who gave the Narada Bhakti Sutras, 84 sutras, which in a very concise way glorify the process of bhakti, explain the process of bhakti. That great Vaishnav Narada Muni, in Narada Bhakti Sutra, also he says that Krishna likes humility. He says, Dainya Priyatvacha in one sutra. He says, Dainya Priyatvacha. He says, Krishna likes humility and Krishna does not like Abhimana Dveshitvat. He says, Krishna does not like Abhiman. Krishna does not like ego. Krishna does not like glorifying oneself. Krishna does not like all of this, putting oneself over others. But what Krishna likes is, in Narada Bhakti Sutra, Narada Muni says, Dainya Priyatvacha. Krishna likes Dainyam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, the same thing has been explained in Bengali as Dinera Adhika Daya Kare Bhagavan, Pandita Kulina Dhani Bada Abhiman. That Dinera Adhika Daya Kare Bhagavan. That Krishna has special favor for those who are humble. But Pandit, those who consider themselves to be very scholarly, Kulina, oh, I am born in a Brahminical family, this person is not born in a Brahminical family. This type of thought process. Bada Abhiman. Somebody could get very proud because of their education, their physical beauty, their fame, the money that they have, the family that they're born in. And Krishna doesn't like this pride. What to speak of Krishna? Even we don't like this pride. Even we don't like this pride. I remember of one very um, good classical singer, Indian classical singer, who has been singing for maybe like 45 years professionally, stage performer. Exceptional brilliance, exceptional. But one thing about him is that before the concert, he will say, you see, this is not my first concert. I have been doing this for 45 years. And in the middle of the concert, he will say, my throat, it's not that I am practicing right now. Because I have practiced for so many years, I'm able to do what I'm able to do. Then at the end of the concert, he will say, um, there may be other performers who don't like their own singing, but I love my own singing. When I look, when we look into the mirror, if we have a nice face, it feels good about it, he was saying. So similarly, when I see my own singing, I hear my own tan, I become happy, I smile, I relish. Why shouldn't I relish? So now, even if the person performs a concert for 4 hours or whatever, if Aham adishcha madhyam cha bhutanam anta evacha. In the beginning, middle, and end, if there's only glorification of the self, somehow when the audience walk out of this concert, of course, they appreciate the brilliance of the throat. But somewhere, this hits in the head that something was not so tasteful. And what is that? Self glorification. So, acting in such a way that we would get glorified by others, speaking about ourselves, these things we should avoid. That's what this verse is teaching us. When Narad Muni is saying, those who envy Krishna, they are more absorbed in Krishna than devotees like myself. I think we will never be able to reach that stage. It is Narada Muni's humility. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is so advanced, so advanced. He lived on the banks of Radha Kund. He wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita at the age of 95. Unbelievable devotion, unbelievable scholarship, unbelievable poetic ability. And he was the most experienced, even as far as age is concerned and practice is concerned. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad says, I am so old. My hands are trembling because of old age. I can't even see. I have to lift my eyelids to see. My ears are not working. My mind, my memory is not failing. I don't know how this text is going to manifest. Now, it may be true that these things may be happening in an old body, but it is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's humility to express that. It's possible he could have just omitted that, although he may be feeling it, he may have just kept it to the side and not spoken about it. But he said it to show the contrast. Look how handicapped I am. Look how disabled I am. And look how great Krishna's mercy is. He's empowering me to write a text like this. And then he says, Je mor naam shune tar punyakshay. Anybody who hears my name, they will lose all piety. Je mor naam loy tar papa hoy. And anybody who names me, takes my name, they will become sinful. Then he says, Purushera kita hoite mui se laghishta, jagai madhai hoite mui se papishta. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad says, I am more fallen and dirty than the garbage. And I am more contaminated, I'm more reckless than Jagai and Madhai. Because Jagai and Madhai never committed Nama Parad because they never chanted the holy name, never committed Vaishnava Parad because they never associated with anybody. But look, I am Ghor Aparadi. So one time I asked my Guru Maharaj that, how do we see this statement? I, I said, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad is saying, Jay Mora Naam Shune Tara Punyakshay, but his name is Krishnadas. By hearing Krishna Naam, how can somebody be sinful, and how can by chanting Krishna Naam somebody become sinful and lose all piety? My Guru Maharaj said, your standard and Kaviraj Goswami's standard are two different standards. My Guru Maharaj said, if we as devotees, we perform bhakti for 1 hour, in 24 hours, we will consider ourselves to be better devotees than those who don't perform bhakti at all. But in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's standpoint, they are performing bhajan for 24 hours. And in that, let's say if there is 1 second, 10 seconds, 20 seconds of interruption, because they're absorbed in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna, and suddenly now they have to take their mind out from there and focus on taking care of their body, taking a snan, eating something, taking little rest. It is so painful for them. And then they compare themselves to those sadhus who are constantly remembering Krishna. There were some sadhus like Vamshidas Babaji Maharaj who never bathed. They never bathed. They never cut their hair. They never cut their nails. They never brushed their teeth. Why? He would have big dreadlocks, big nails, and never bathed, and he would sit there. Why? Because when he would bathe and brush his teeth and cut his nails and shave his head and sit, then his effulgence would come out, and all devotees would come and seek association. But on purpose, he would keep him so dirty so nobody would come close to him, so that he's not disturbed by anybody and he can do bhajan. Same with Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He lived in a public toilet so that nobody comes and troubles him. He would chant Hare Krishna in a public toilet. Such a dirty public toilet because nobody wants to come there. Because if he sits on the banks of the Ganga, then everybody would say, Baba, oh Mahatma Ji, please Ashirwad do, Ashirwad do. Hmm? So if he sits in a public toilet, nobody will come chanting Hare Krishna. So great souls, they would do things like that. Another great soul, one time, by the way, a disclaimer, please don't do any of this. Our purpose is not to be like this. Please take snan 2 times, 3 times every day, and we have to be clean. We have to brush our teeth at least twice a day and keep nails and everything clean. We have shaucham. We have to practice humility. We have to practice sadhana bhakti. We cannot imitate these great souls. Another great soul, he had a little bhajan kutir, and everybody would come to him. There used to be a big line of people just to take blessings, touch his feet. Baba, Baba, Ashirwad do, Raksha karo. So what this sadhu did, he called for the most famous Vaishya, prostitute in that area. And he went on a public procession with her sitting on the top of her chariot. He had a Vaishya and sat with her like this, put his hand around her shoulder, and he went around the whole chariot, whole city on a chariot. And everybody saw. So, what happened to this Baba? People started criticizing. They said, this Baba has gone crazy. This Mahatma has gone crazy. He has fallen from his grace. Dekho what happened. Patan ho gaya. He has fallen from his spiritual stature. So, he did that one round. Then to that Vaishya, he gave her some Mahaprasad and some Tulsi and said, now you go. And then he sat in his ashram. Nobody came to him. He was satisfied. Not that we have to do things like this. But the point is, these great Vaishnavas kept so far away from glorification because they saw that to be distracting from their bhajan. If we want to remember Krishna, if we want to practice humility, you cannot be putting your own reels on social media. You cannot be thinking of how many likes and comments and subscriptions and share, and you cannot be doing these things. We cannot be doing these things. Because if the mind is dhavato bahihi, is running outward on how many, okay, last month, so many subscribers, so many following, so many people knew me. This month, if this is the mind, then we are devotees, but we are devotees of people around. We are not devotees of Krishna. Yes, we are devotees because we are constantly thinking about someone, but we are devotees. We are devoted to our following. And that is not bhajan. That is not bhakti. That is not Krishna bhakti. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Okay, Krishna may send. Krishna may send people. Krishna may send following, but we shouldn't want it. If we want people, if we have feeling that, okay, when I speak, there should be 100 on Zoom. If this is the mindset, then we are devotees of that number. We should have the same intensity, even if we are sitting in a room with 2, 3 devotees and relishing Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The subject matter is of interest, not how many people came. Therefore, you can see Sripad Madhavendra Puri, his fame spread all over the place when Kirachor Gopinath stole for him. You can read that in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhavendra Puri, he just wanted to have little taste of that milk preparation that was offered to Gopinath. Why? Only so that he can make that for his Gopal, not because he wanted to taste. Sometimes in programs we see Harikatha is going on, and at that time they have to make some offering to the deities. So one Mataji or one Prabhuji will bring a plate full of prasad, bhoga, and to bring it to the altar to offer. And at that time, everyone in the audience is looking. What is made today? What is there for prasadam? One time, one Prabhuji was giving class, and one plate of bhoga went to the altar, and everybody was busy looking. So that Prabhuji was giving class, he stopped and he said, देखो सब लोग देखो क्या बना है देखो ठाकुर जी से पहले आप पालो नेत्रों से पालो. Before Krishna sees, okay, everyone please look what is made. And then he started saying, see, roti is there, so one cup of dal is also there, two sabjis are there. He said the focus during Hari Katha should be so strong that doesn't matter whether somebody's on their phone, or somebody's talking, chit-chatting, or somebody's writing a text message, or somebody's coming at the door. That's another thing. In the middle of Hari Katha, the door will keep opening because people come late. So everyone keeps looking. So that devotee was speaking. At another time, he said, "Look, now look, you keep attendance list. Look who has come." सब ऐसे देख रहे हैं जैसे ठाकुर जी आ गए, as if Krishna has come. We should be very focused, right? We should be very focused. So the point is, Sripad Madhavendra Puri, when he looked at the offering that was being offered to Gopinath, it was not like in the mood that we see. He wanted just a little taste of the milk preparation, milk sweet preparation, so that he could make that for his Gopal. But then he realized, what did I do? I shouldn't be doing this. This is offering made for Krishna. How can I think? Then he left. He couldn't stand there. He said, I am an offender. But that night, that evening, when the pujari came to take the offerings out, he saw 12 pots were kept for offering, but now only 11 are there. So he didn't know where that 12th pot went. He looked around and he couldn't find it. And in the dream of that pujari, Gopinath came and he said, well, you had offered 12 pots, and now when you collected, there were only 11, and you're trying to figure out where the 12th is. Look behind the deity. I have stolen one pot only for Madhavendra Puri because he wanted to taste. So now this Pujari became ecstatic. He came to the altar, and behind Gopinath, he saw a cup of milk preparation. So from that day onwards, Gopinath, who was always butter thief in Vrindavan, now he became a milk thief. Till now he stole butter for himself, but now for his devotees, he has stolen milk. This pujari ran, Madhavendra Puri, look, Gopinath has become Kheer Chor Gopinath. Now, when you say Kheer Chor Gopinath, in Bangla, in Sanskrit, the root word is Kshira. Kshiram yatha dadhivikara vishesha yoga. So, Kshira means milk, like Kshira Udakashai Vishnu. But in Bangla, we don't say the Sha, so it becomes Kheera. That doesn't mean it's Kheer, as in milk sweet, right? So, or robadi, etc. Like in Radharaman temple, Khulia, Khulia preparation. So this pujari came running, Madhavendra Puri, look, Gopinath has become Kheer Chor Gopinath for you. And Madhavendra Puri became so touched that Krishna actually held this pot and stole it and kept behind him. Madhavendra Puri drank the whole preparation. He even broke that pot and said, I will eat a piece of that mud pot every day because Gopinath has held this pot for me. Now the fame of Madhavendra Puri spread everywhere in the village. Madhavendra Puri said, it is not good for me to stay here. This is the connection with what we are discussing. Madhavendra Puri did not like name and fame at all. He did not want to stay in the place where he's so famous. So he went all the way to Jagannath Puri. And as Krishna has his plans, before Sripad Madhavendra Puri reached the place, his fame already reached. So when he reached, the pujaris there were saying, oh, you are that Madhavendra Puri for whom Gopinath stole Kheer. There is a saying that, which even my Guru Maharaj would say, and I've heard it from other devotees also, that fame or stuti is always a kanya. She's always unmarried, stuti kanya. Because those who want her, she runs far away from them. Those who want fame, she's running far away from them. She doesn't want them. And she wants to give fame to pure devotees, and pure devotees are running away from her. So if you imagine, it's like this. There are people running behind. So this is fame, Stuti, and people running behind her, and she's running away from her. But she's running towards, in front of her, there are pure devotees. She's running towards the pure devotees, and the pure devotees are running away from her. So she never gets married because those who want to marry her, she runs away. And those she wants to marry, they're running away from her. So this is the nature of pure devotees. Even Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he would have Ashta Sattvic Vikar. His hair would stand on end, voice would choke, tears dripping from his eyes, and discoloration in the body. And when Mahaprabhu was asked about Krishna Prem, he says, Premera Swabhav Jaha Premera Sambandha, Shei Mane Krishna More Nahi Prema Gandha. Shei Mane Krishna More Nahi Prema Gandha. Mahaprabhu says, what to speak of having Krishna Prem? Oh, I don't even have the sugandha. I don't even have the fragrance of Krishna Prem. Mahaprabhu says, just like a fish, golden fish, when it's taken out of the blue waters, it will flip and flap and prefer to die, but cannot live without water. But look at this golden fish. It is taken in separation far away from the blue waters of Shama Sundar, but I continue to exist, which means I have no love. The fish has more love for water than I have love for Krishna. जल बिनु जैनो मीन दुख पाए आयुहीन. Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur says, um, fish when taken out of water, jala binu jano mean. Mean means fish. When it is taken jala bina, without water, dukha paye ayuhin. It is ready to struggle and give up its life, but it cannot live without water. And same with a firefly. A firefly, you can see a moth will run being attracted by the glitter and glamour of fire. It enters into fire, it's ready to die, but cannot live without entering that fire. Itna prem. It finds blazing flames to be so attractive for the eyes, wants to run and fly and enter, ready to be burnt alive, but still enters. Same with a honeybee. It's ready to be trapped in a lotus flower and die when the petals close. But the honeybee cannot give up the nectar in the wall of the lotus flower. All of this examples. Same with a deer. The deer is ready to be caught by a hunter, but cannot give up the flute sound of that hunter. Well, I'm talking about two deer here. One is the deer of this world, and one is the deer of Brindavan. Both are attracted to a hunter who plays the flute. धन्यास्म मूढ़गतयोऽपि हरिण्य एता या नंद नंदनमुपात विचित्र वेशम आकर्ण्य वेणुरणितं सह कृष्ण सारा पूजां दधुर्विरचितां प्रणयावलोकै. The deer of this world and the deer of that world, both golden deers, you see, they get attracted to a hunter who plays sweet flute music in the forest. And the deer of this world gets so fascinated by the hunter, it starts licking the feet of the hunter. When he stops playing the flute, that's when it realizes that this is a human being who has come to attack. I need to run away. So it's ready to be caught by a deer, but it's so attracted by the flute. So Mahaprabhu says all of this. Narottam Das Thakur is saying, and Narottam Das Thakur at the end he says, whatever I'm saying has been inspired by Mahaprabhu. So ultimately, Mahaprabhu is saying that I have no love compared to any of these species. They have more love for material things than the love that I have for Krishna. So is that true? Is it true that Mahaprabhu in Radharani's bhav, Radharani has less love than a moth or a fish? No. But the point is, pure Vaishnavas like to see good in others, and they don't consider themselves to be very great. So humility is very important. Very important. Dainyam. Dainya Atma Nivedana Goptritve Baron. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palon. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahar. Tahara Prarthana Shune Sri Nanda Kumar. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Krishna will listen to the prayers of only that Vaishnava who practices humility. Without dainya, without humility, it's not possible. It is not possible. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, such a great Vaishnava, he wrote more than 100 songs. different articles in different languages. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in English, he wrote in Bengali, he wrote in Sanskrit, he wrote in even Urdu at that time to attract people from different audiences. He was working two jobs, chanting hundreds and thousands of holy names, writing so many books, have to have a son like Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Such a great Vaishnava, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Worshipped Radha Madhav deities. He was the one who discovered the birthplace of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He was the Shiksha Guru of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. How great! And what does Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? Vidyar Gaurave Bhrami Deshe Deshe Dhano Upajana Kori Na Bhajiya Tore Dina Bhritta Gelo Bhulino Tumare Hari. Those who speak Bangla will understand. Vidyara Gaurave, in the pride of Vidya, studying, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying about himself. Vidyara Gaurave, in the pride of learning Brahmi Deshe Deshe, I went from one place to another, Dhana Upajana Kori, to make money. And in this effort, my Lord, just studying and collecting, making more money and more profit, na bhajiya tore dina britto gelo. Life was wasted, days were wasted because, my dear Lord, I did not remember you. Jibano hoilo shesh na bhajile rishikesh. My days have come to end. I have become old. Bardhake ekhona upaya bihina. My dear Lord, I have become old. I have wasted my life. Now in my old age, where can I go to get shelter of your lotus feet? Mera to jivan vyarth chala gaya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing. Now that's not true, but they don't fake it. They really feel it. From our standpoint, we feel that they are so pure hearted, but they themselves are comparing themselves to their superiors. And they feel we are nowhere. What to speak of you and me? Rup Goswami Pad, who's the greatest Acharya in our Sampradaya. Rup Goswami Pad says, my dear Lord, Prachinanam Atulam. He says, those who performed bhajan in the past, and Rup Goswami Pad is referring to personalities like Dhruva Maharaj. Says Dhruva Maharaj, at the age of 5, he stood in the middle of the forest for 6 months on one leg and gave up eating, drinking, even breathing to remember his mantra. Rup Goswami Pad says, I have no taste for chanting. Rup Goswami wrote Namashtakam. When Rup Goswami Pad says, Tunde Tande Viniratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdhaye, Kṛṣṇa, may I have hundreds and millions of tongues and hundreds and millions of ears to chant and hear your holy name. Namacharya Haridas Thakur was dancing in ecstasy. Haridas Thakur said there are so many people who experience taste in the holy name, but they're not poets. They cannot express it. And then there are those who are expressing the glories of the holy name through poetry, but they don't experience it themselves. But achara prachar namer karo dui karya. But Rup Goswami Pad is tasting it and expressing it. Haridas Thakur in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, I have read the glories of the holy name in Shastra, but when I hear it from your lips, O Rup Goswami, Namacharya Haridas Thakur says, Aiche kohi nahi shuni. I have not heard such glories anywhere else. So that Rup Goswami Pad, who's so advanced, he says, Dhruva Maharaj at the age of 5 years, for 6 months, in the middle of the forest on one leg, stood giving up eating, sleeping, drinking, even fruits, even leaves, even breathing, just to remember his mantra, to have darshan of Vishnu in Vaikuntha. And I aspire to have darshan of Radha and Krishna, and my bhajan is nowhere close to Dhruva Maharaj, Rupa Goswami Pad writes. Now, is that true? But he genuinely feels that. We genuinely have to feel that I need to do more. If we feel, I am a very advanced devotee actually. If we feel like that, rocking on our chair, if we feel, yeah, I am somehow, people cannot be speaking lies when they are all saying I'm advanced. I certainly must be advanced because Vaishnavas cannot be wrong. We shouldn't think like that. Just because we have memorized a few shlokas or we have memorized a few stanzas or we know some section of Shastra, or we have heard or read a few, इससे कुछ नहीं होता. Just by memorizing some letters printed in a printing press on paper, माया से मुक्त नहीं हो सकता कोई जीव. You cannot be free from Maya by memorizing passages and keeping it here. Artificial intelligence, Chat GPT should have gone back home, back to Godhead by now. Because he knows very quickly. You ask them anything, they will tell you with references. So if memorization is the test, then you can see your hard drive, you can see your pen drive, flash drive. It's only so much, but it has so many files, so many documents, so many lectures, so many kirtans. So keeping things here doesn't matter. When life is pinching us, what kind of response we are giving, that shows maturity in bhakti. When someone is criticizing and blaming us for something that we haven't done, are we able to stand and tolerate that? Are we able to see it as our own karma? Or do we feel angry and we are biting our teeth, waiting for an opportunity to punch the teeth out of this Keshi? Like Krishna punched the teeth out of the Keshi, right? So some Krishna conscious connection there. If that's what our false ego is thinking, then even if we are chanting so much, we aren't practicing Trinad api suni chena tarori vasahishnana. Unless we practice this, it is not going to work. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, you can see almost every class, almost every class. Trinadapi suni chena taroriva sahishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Then Maharaj will quote Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Das Dasanudasa. Then Maharaj will quote Tattenu Kampam Susamikshama Bhunjane Evatma Kritam Vipakam. Somebody might think, why these verses? Because these verses are fundamental backbone of our practice. Unless we consider ourselves to be the servant of the Vaishnavas, unless we tolerate like tree, somebody will come and give feedback. Let's say that feedback doesn't make sense, or whether it makes sense, or maybe it's some misunderstanding or some miscommunication. Are we quick to justify and protect our ego, or are we ready to take it? Okay, that's fine, that's an opinion, we'll take it wholeheartedly. Are we ready to tolerate? Are we ready to be humble as a blade of grass and tolerate like a tree, give respect to everyone and not expect anything in return, and chant Hare Krishna depending on Krishna's mercy at every moment, every day in our life? Only such a person can get Krishna Prem. And it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Um, this example has been given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The more humble we are, the more Krishna Bhakti one can hold. And the more Krishna Bhakti one can hold, naturally that causes more humility. It causes more humility. Now you can see, the more hungry we are in the belly, the more tasty the prasadam feels. Provided it's made tasty, provided it's cooked properly, you want to take more. The more hungry we are, the more tastier it gets. And the more tastier it gets, the quickly we'll get hungry because we want to eat more. So it goes both ways. It destroys hunger temporarily, but then our desire to eat that preparation continues. Next time you see that Mataji or Prabhuji, say, Prabhuji, आप वो सब्जी बना सकते हैं, पिछले बार बहुत स्वादिष्ट था. It was very tasty. So what's happening? It's destroying temporary hunger and it's causing more and more taste on the tongue. So more hungry, more tasty, more future hunger. So bhakti is like this. The more hunger, which means more humility, more taste of bhakti is tasted, and it destroys temporary hunger of material desires only to cause more and more future hunger in the form of lobha, spiritual greed. More humility, more bhakti, more bhakti, more humility. Therefore, it is said, phalanti, those trees which are phalanti, which was full of fruits, they are the ones which are namanti, which bow down. Namanti phalino vriksha, namanti gunino jana, shushka kashthascha murkhascha, na namanti kadachana. The trees which are full of fruits, namanti. They are the ones by the weight of those fruits bowing down to other trees. You can see trees which are full of fruits are bending, the branches are bending by the weights of those fruits. And they are bowing down naturally by the weight of those fruits, offering obeisances to other trees. But trees which have no fruits are standing tall, which means those who have fruits, good qualities, they're always bending by the weight of those good qualities. Therefore, vidya vinayena shobhate. True learning must cause humility. And we have seen this in our experience. Imagine if you have, let's say, if you're following a certain sport, let's say you're following cricket, and if you have two cricketers, both are very good, but one is always picking up fights and quarrels with other players and giving gully or whatever. It's like just bad character. Very talented, but not very humble. But on the other hand, you have a player who's very talented, very skilled, and naturally humble. He had a nick to the bat, and the ball went, and the wicketkeeper caught it. And he felt it. The umpire didn't give out, but he walked away out of natural honesty. That attracts, is it not? That he was not given out, but he still walked away in humility. And if, let's say, somebody is acting weird, the bowler is shouting at this batsman, but the batsman just tolerates and speaks louder with his bat, not with his tongue. Such athletes, even in the material front, are very attractive. People love Sachin Tendulkar, at least in the past, for his temperament. Extremely talented cricketer. But the icing was his natural, humble demeanor. Now, this is a material example. Imagine being spiritually humble, genuinely self deprecating, seeing good in others, and not considering oneself to be so great. It attracts the creator of all creations, it attracts Krishna. Now, with that discussion, comes back to this verse. When Narad Muni says, glorifying Shishupal's absorption in Krishna, Tanmayatam means Tanmay, Tattmay, Bhagwan में पूर्णतया समर्पित हो जाना, to be completely absorbed, to be completely engrossed in Krishna. Yatha vair anubandhena martyasthanmayatam iyat, just like Shishupal in enmity, in envy, got completely absorbed in Krishna, na tatha bhakti yogena iti me nishchitamati. I don't think, Narad Muni is saying, I don't think what we are practicing, people like me, I don't think I can have that kind of absorption. So this must be understood not as a fact, but Narada Muni's opinion in humility. Now, this is an amazing verse, amazing example, 28 and 29. Kita peshaskrita ruddha kudyayam tam anusmaran samrambha bhaya yogena vindate tat swarupatam. Vindate tat swarupatam evam krishne bhagavati maya manuja ishware vairena puta papmanas tam apur anuchintaya. What does this mean? Narad Muni is talking about the example that's found in this world. I personally haven't seen this example with my eyes, but I believe Srimad Bhagavatam, so I take this. Narad Muni says a grassworm confined in a hole of a wall, which means agar diwar mein ched ho, if there is a hole in the wall and if there's an insect which is stuck inside by a bee, it always thinks of the bee in fear and enmity and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Which means if there is a bee which has kept an insect locked in the hole of a wall, that insect which is locked in the hole gets afraid now the bee will sting me, will kill me. Out of fear of that bee, it is described, it loses its covering and becomes a bee because of this remembrance. So if this is a material phenomena, what to speak similarly if conditions will somehow or the other think of Krishna, who is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, they will become free from their sins, whether thinking of him as their worshipable deity or Lord or as enemy. Because of constantly thinking of him, they will regain their spiritual bodies. So, evam Krishne Bhagavati Maya Manuja Ishware. Now, these words are very important. Evam means in this way. So, after giving an example of a हिंदी में जो कीड़ा कहते हैं, संस्कृत में उसका शब्द है कीट, कीट पतंग, जैसे हिंदी में भी कहते हैं. So an insect, ruddaha, when it is um, stopped, when it is obstructed, when it is by force confined in the hole of a wall, ruddhatu. Anusmaran, it keeps remembering the bee, bhaya yogena, out of fear, and vindate, then becomes tatswarupatam, becomes a bee. Evam, in this way, Krishna Bhagavati, if someone remembers Krishna, who is Ishvara, but Maya Manuja, appears like a human being. Vairena, even if someone remembers Krishna in enmity, in envy, Puta papmana. Sabhi papon se, from all sins, puta, one becomes purified. So puta means purity, na means no. Puta na means no purity. So by remembering Krishna, even in envy, constantly remembering Krishna, one becomes puta papmana, becomes free from all sins, and just like the insect becomes a bee in fear, tam apu anu Chintaya. By anuchintaya, by repeated remembrance, one becomes completely spiritual. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In Bhagavad Gita 4:10, the Lord says, Vitaraghavaya krodha tanmaya mam upashrita bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agata. Giving up all attachment in this world, fear, anger, etc., those who are manmaya, remember Krishna by taking shelter of Him. Krishna says, many such, just by remembering me, have puta, become purified, and mat bhavamagata, they have come to my abode completely purified. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified and thus all attained transcendental love for me. What is the main point? To be fully absorbed in Krishna. One gets everything just by remembering Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada's purport continues on the importance of remembering Krishna. So, in these two verses, 28 and 29 that we just read, importance of remembering Krishna has been stressed. Very important to remember Krishna. And in this regard, we have collected a few verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, which I would like to look at this. This is 12:12:69 on the importance of remembering Krishna. This is a pranam mantra for Shukadev Goswami. You can see Tam Akhila Vrijinagnam Vyasasunum Natosmi. What is the glories of Shukadev Goswami? Swasukha nibrita chetastya tadvyudastanya bhavo yapijita ruchira leela krishta sarastadiyam vyatanuta kripayayas deepam puranam tamakila vrajinagnam vyasa sunum natosmi. Vyasa sunum, to the son of Vyasadev, aham natosmi, I bow down. And Akhila Vrujina Gnam, he is Vyatanuta, he very kindly spoke, distributed. What did Shukadev Goswami distribute? Tattva Deepam Puranam. He distributed Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Tattva Deepa. It is the lamp of all spiritual philosophical truths. Akhila Vrujina Gnam, which destroys all our distress. And Shukdev Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam only out of one mood, Kripaya, out of compassion for all of us. Now, how does this verse fall in place regarding remembering Krishna? Well, here is where the context is. Swa sukha nibrutta cheta tad vyuda stanya bhava api ajita ruchira lila krishta sarastadiyam. Shukdev Goswami gave up his own meditation. Before, if you see, Shukdev Goswami was Brahmavadi. Shukadev Goswami was meditating on Nirvikara Brahma, which means impersonal Brahma, Bhagwan with no form. So that Swasukha Nibrutta Cheta, he gave up that idea and his mind was akrishta, completely absorbed in Ajita, Krishna's Ruchira Leela. Shukdev Goswami, like a magnet, his mind was attached to the pastimes of Krishna, and Vyudastanya Bhava, he gave up all other thoughts अपने स्वसुख ब्रह्मवादी विचारों के सुख के समाधि को त्याग कर उनकी मति, उनका मन हर क्षण एक चुंबक की तरह, एक मैग्नेट की तरह भगवान की लीलाओं में पूर्णतया आकृष्ट था. That is the point. Shukdev Goswami gave up all his thoughts and, like a magnet, Akrishna was attracted to the sweet pastimes of Krishna, and therefore his mind, which was completely absorbed, now manifested Kripaya out of compassion for others, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which he very kindly spoke to others. So, what is the connection of this verse with respect to what we are discussing? Ajita Ruchira Leela Krishna Saras Tadiyam. That Shukdev Goswami, moment to moment, remembered Krishna because of his attachment. And not the Shukdev Goswami, you can see Shukdev Goswami's father. What is his name? Bhagwan Vyasadev. Bhagwan Vyasadev also. Atho Mahabhag Bhavan Mogadrik Shuchishhrava Satyarato Dhritavrata Urukramasyakhila Bandhamuktaye Samadhinanusmara Tadvicheshtita. बहुत ही सुंदर. नारद मुनि स्पीकिंग टू भगवान व्यासदेव, हे महाभाग, हे महाभाग्यवान, O most fortunate, Amoghadrik, he who has perfect vision, not just vision of the eyes, but perfect mission in life. Shuchi, who's completely spotless, pure. Shrava, who's very famous. Satyarataha, who is truth personified. Dhritavrataha, who's very determined. Imagine getting all of these titles as a disciple from one's guru. Narad Muni, in this section of Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 13, is speaking about his own disciple, Vyasadev. And he says, Hey Vyas, who is the embodiment of all good qualities, Samadhina, out of your samadhi, now Anusmara Tadvicheshtitam. Please continue to constantly remember Krishna. Constantly remember Krishna. Urukramasya Akhila Bandha Muktaye. Remember Tadvicheshtitam. Vicheshtitam, pastimes. So, Vyasadev's son Shukadev Goswami is absorbed in the pastimes of Krishna, and Vyasadev himself, as the father of Shukadev, Tad Vicheshtitam, in pastimes of Krishna. How do you know Krishna? Urukrama. Urukrama is the name of Krishna. So, Urukramasya Vicheshtitam Anusmara Samadhina. Samadhi mein, in complete contemplative meditation, repeatedly Anusmara, remember the pastimes of Krishna. For what purpose? Akhila Bandha Muktaye. Because when you remember the pastimes of Krishna, you can manifest the Bhagavatam. And that Bhagavatam, Akhila Bandha Muktaye, will liberate all those jivas who are in bandhan, who are in bondage in this world. So Shukadev Goswami in 12:12:69 has been glorified by Suta Goswami to have Ajita Ruchira Leela Krishna Sara. His mind is completely absorbed. And his father Vyasadev, Samadhina, through Samadhi, Anusmara, repeatedly remembering Tadvicheshtitam, the pastimes of Krishna. So, through these two verses, through glories of Shukadev Goswami and glories of his father Vyasadev, one thing is for sure, we should remember Krishna constantly. We should remember Krishna constantly. Through all the different classes we have been having till now, one take home lesson, whether in Vaira or in Bhakti, remember Krishna constantly. And between the two, Bhakti is a favorable path. You lovingly remember Krishna. You read about him, you hear about him, you chant his names, you associate with the devotees, you serve the deities. Constantly, the mind should be thinking of Krishna and nothing else. I want to read this verse from Garuda Puran. Bhagwan Vyasadev has said such a beautiful verse. I would like to read this. All of you can also repeat. Wherever you are, you're on mute. Don't worry. You can loudly repeat after me. Very beautiful verse from Garuda Puran. Ekasmin apyatikrante मुहूर्ते ध्यानवर्जिते दस्युभिर्मुषितेनेव युक्तम् आक्रन्दितुं भृशम् What does it mean? Ekasmin api atikrante muhurte dhyanavaržite. Even if one muhurta, you could say muhurta is 48 minutes, or you can say one muhurta means one moment. Ekasmin api atikrante dhyanavaržite, muhurte dhyanavaržite. Even if there's one moment where we have forgotten Krishna, what should we do? दस्युभिः मुषितेन दस्युभिः मुषितेनेव युक्तम् आक्रन्दितुं भृशम्. We should cry so loudly as if we have been robbed by highway robbers. Imagine you're driving from one place to another, and on the highway, some goons, some dacoits, they attack, they take all our money away. How helplessly will we call out and we cry for help? Bhagwan Vyasadeva says, even if a moment has been spent bereft of the remembrance of Bhagavan, one should cry out loudly as if being plundered by dacoits. That is the importance of remembering Krishna. That forgetfulness of Krishna should hurt us so much. Similarly, there's another beautiful verse that also comes in the Skanda Puran, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 35. This is spoken by Brahmaji on the importance of remembering Krishna. Right? Our Shishupal, although he envied Krishna, one great thing in him was he couldn't forget Krishna. He was completely absorbed in Krishna. So we should find that absorption in bhakti. That's the point. So be humble and remember Krishna. That's the tagline for today's discussion. So Brahmaji in Skanda Puran, he says, Alodhya Sarva Alodhya, after scrutinizingly seeing through all the Shastra. Alodhya Sarvashastrani and Vicharya cha punah, going through all the Shastra and contemplating through all the meanings. Brahmaji said, Idam eva su nishpannam. This is the only conclusion I have come to. What is that? Alodhya sarvashastrani vicharya cha punah idam eva su nishpannam. After studying through all Shastra and going through all statements repeatedly, contemplating and scrutinizingly, Brahmaji says, this is the one line essence that I have come to. What is that? Dhyeyo Narayana Sada. One should remember Narayana forever. Very simple. People have tattoos these days and they have so many different things that they write here. If there's something we have to write this. Dhyeyo Narayana Sada. No need of any tattoo, but we can put it on our wall, on our study desk. Dhyeyo Narayana Sada. This comes from Skanda Puran. Alodhya sarvashastrani vicharya cha punah idam eva su nishpannam dhyeyo Narayana Sada. What a beautiful verse. Brahmaji is saying, Chaturmukhi Brahma. From his four heads, he studied the four Vedas and he's saying the essence. Idam eva sunishpannam. This is the one line conclusion. Dhyeyo Narayana Sada. One must be absorbed in remembering Krishna. One must remember Krishna. I'll show you a very nice point from Srila Prabhupada's class. This is Srila Prabhupada lecture. Just give me a minute. This is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 1, Srila Prabhupada lecture transcript. Srila Prabhupada gives this class, and I'll read the last section of this class. Yeah. So Prabhupada is mentioning in this class that the essence, the perfection of bhakti is one should think of Krishna 24 hours a day. One should honor Krishna Prasadam, chant Krishna's name, hear about Krishna, read Krishna book, worship the deity and associate with the devotees of Krishna. And this is the perfection of samadhi. This is straight from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Which means we should make sure moment to moment we are remembering Krishna. When we are driving the car, we should have a little kirtan or little class in the car so that we don't forget Krishna at that time. Even when we wake up from sleep, we are about to brush our teeth, do our daily duties, have a little speaker there and play some kirtan or play some class so that even when we are doing our daily duties, we remember Krishna. Even while worshipping Thakurji, while worshipping the deities, put a little class. I know one devotee who has constant kirtan going on his altar. Constant. Aindra Prabhu Kirtan. a devotee in India. He has a little speaker, and on that there are Aindra Prabhu's. He has a little pen drive onto that speaker, and about 300 kirtans of Aindra Prabhu constantly going on one after another. So many days. So whenever you go to his home and you go to take darshan of his God Nitai, you can hear Aindra Prabhu's kirtan. It's kept very soft in such a way that you can hear it. It's not too loud in all other rooms, but it's very nice. So when you pass through that room, you're hearing the kirtan. Many devotees have the chanting machine of Srila Prabhupada's kirtan. So that's a must we should have. We should surround ourselves with spiritual sound vibration. That should be the conclusion of today's discussion. We should surround ourselves with spiritual sound vibration, with books, with Harikatha, with Kirtan, moment to moment, moment to moment. I know one devotee who has very nice, interesting um, statements from Srila Prabhupada's purport, just one line, which is very thought provoking, kept all over his house. You go to his study desk, there's a little laminated piece, just one line. I went to his study desk, and the study desk said, the tolerance of a person, the greatness of a person can be ascertained by his or her ability to tolerate provoking situations. Just one line. Then you go to another room, another statement from Prabhupada's purport. Just one line, which stands out. So you go to a certain room, you're Jahan netra pode taha kore darshan. Wherever you see, you can get reminded of Krishna. Other devotees, you see, their homes are full of pictures of Krishna, different deities, different paintings, and that's very important. Our life should be completely Krishna conscious. We should make a plan in such a way that we remember Krishna. That is the sum and substance of what we have been discussing. Shishupal did, and therefore he attained Krishna. We should do it in a favorable way. So, the conclusion of today's discussion, let's practice humility and try to remember Krishna as much as possible. Keep the distractions away, and let's positively march on this path. We'll see you on Tuesday. Till then, please continue to chant. Please continue to read Srila Prabhupada's books, and let us be marching very favorably, optimistically through all the different rocks of obstacles we may get. We should be like the flowing of the Ganga. Even if there are rocks in the flow of our bhakti, we make our way around the rocks and we flow towards the ocean, which is the lotus feet of Krishna. So we'll pause here. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shamasundar ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Sham. Thank you very much.